Greetings, all you mind control resistant over 25ers out there, and welcome to the Inner Four Lights, a watch of Star Trek Picard Season 3. My name is Fletcher. About to say hello is Data.
Welcome to being old. I like the implication there that if you're out there listening and you're under 25, you're not welcome.
Yeah, you're totally mind controlled. There's nothing to do, so go back to your tiki-taki or whatever you're doing. We're also the hosts of the Star Trek Deep Space Nine discussion podcast, Undeclared Bajor, available on the Fletcher from the Deep YouTube channel, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this, which I guarantee you is one of those two places. So if you like listening to us and you like Star Trek Deep Space Nine, go check that out. But today we're going to recap, discuss, and theorize, if there are any theories left, and I believe there's a couple, about Star Trek Picard, Season 3, Episode 9/Part 9, Vox, or however you say it with that, like, tilde thing. Vox.
I don't. In the episode, they say Vox.
So that's what we're going with. The Borg Queen pronounced it Vox. So,
OG Borg Queen.
Yep. Alternate title of this episode, The Jackening.
All right. I don't feel like Jack actually does that much, but that's a good title. So
he's more of a thing that happens to everybody.
Yeah.
This will be a full spoiler discussion. This episode was written by Sean Shreda and Kylie Rossiter and directed by Terry Matalas.
Who would have thought?
So he wrote the first episode, and now he's directing the last two episodes. So episode summary. Previously on Star Trek Picard. Help me, Deanna. Use your Professor X powers to unlock the secrets of my mind, says Jack. Now, this episode. Jack Crusher stares down his red door, while red vines slowly cover everything around.
But not the candy.
Yeah, the not good kind. Also, he has some, red vine candies in his pockets, and he's just stuffing them in his mouth. I Can't Stop Crying, which I remind you is a Universal Music Library song written in 2015, echoes hauntingly through the corridors of his mind.
Good thing that's, universal.
So his mom really likes those old movie songs made to sound like a different era of songs.
Well, yeah. She also doesn't want to pay for future Amazon Prime music or whatever it's called. So yeah.
She's like, just give me the most generic public domain stuff you have. Although I was thinking about this, would we really know the difference between a song written in 1630s versus 17 teens?
Dude, I wouldn't know the difference between a song written today and a song from 1630 necessarily, so
that's true. Sometimes I listen to new music, I was like, is this a 70s song? It's like, nope. Standing beside Jack, Deanna guides with her Professor X powers that we never knew she had before. She asks about the symbolism of the red vines. Jack suddenly remembers an arboretum where his mother used to take him, where lots of flowers were connected with underground vines. He finds himself strangely drawn to the idea of everybody and everything being connected. Deanna asks if she can go open that red door, and Jack says yes. Then Deanna spends approximately 6 hours walking toward the door, building tension. Then finally slowly turns the knob. And then she opens her eyes and, as the kids say, nopes the fuck out of there.
Yeah, okay, so Troy has never been the best counselor.
Sure.
I just have to say, this is some of the worst counseling that I think we've ever seen, where she's like, hey, whatever happens, you won't be alone. And then 5 seconds later, nope, fuck you, I'm out of here.
There's
You're
something
alone.
Deeply wrong with you. I'm not touching this. Bye.
Yeah, and then they, not to jump ahead, but then they send in Picard to talk to him about it, which, given his history and his emotional, issues with the Borg, possibly the worst person to send to talk to him.
Yep. This was not a shining moment for, mental health care or whatever.
No.
in this episode.
And once again, there's no HIPAA in space. So.
Oh yeah. She like runs directly to Picard and Beverly, and they're like, "What's up?" And she's like, "I opened that door in Jack's mind while doing a private counseling session. And what did I see in there? The Borg."
I didn't tell him, but I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah. It's like, it reminds me of that storyline in Mad Men when Betty went to go see a psychiatrist. And at the end of the day, the psychiatrist was just always called Don and like tell him like, what they talked about in their sessions.
Tisk tisk.
So the three try to figure out what that means. Beverly theorizes that Picard's assimilation had some kind of organic aspect that he somehow passed down to Jack and was later mistaken for Irumodic syndrome.
Yep.
So Picard is upset about this and decides he better go explain it to Jack, but Deanna warns, like, no, there are protocols. Jack is dangerous.
Apparently the protocols are put 2 guys outside his quarters with guns who he can easily control.
You didn't think these protocols through, did you, Deanna?
Yeah. But it's... At the very least, this theory explains why, like, all the way back in First Contact, he can still hear the Borg talking in his brain.
Right. Well, I mean, they flat out said that, so...
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, it plot hole filled after 20 years or however long.
That never really bothered me. I just always assumed that they just like there's some junk the surgeons couldn't take out or whatever.
Right? Yeah, I think that was the assumption that I had too. It's like there was some stuff left behind, but they figured it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah. They just took the battery out or whatever, and it was fine. So yeah, Picard goes to talk to Jack, explains the whole thing. Jack is like, makes sense. I've always thought people should be linked together in a singular hive mind. But I never realized how similar this was to the concept of the Borg. And then Picard is like, well, there's a nice place on Vulcan where we can take you. But Jack is like, no.
I know that place.
Yeah, that's a mind meld, like, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest type thing. I want nothing to do with that.
Yeah, in some really horrible parenting also, where he's like, I thought you said that you'd never give up on me. And Picard's like, well, I mean, that was before the Borg.
That was before I found out there was something wrong with you.
Yeah, it's like, so many other ways you could have played this. It's like, no, I'm not giving up. It's like, I will go with you. We're like, me and your mom are going to be next to you every step of the way. Or anything positive or encouraging that's not just like, we don't like you anymore and you're not allowed to leave.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take you to Vulcan, lock you up in the loony bin. I'm going to go back to hang out with my hot young Romulan girlfriend. Or hot old, but slightly younger than me looking. Romulan girlfriend.
Looking. I don't know how old she actually is, but...
and then I'm going to live happily ever after. Goodbye. But yeah, Jack's like, no, like, fuck this. He runs to the door, and then there's 2 dudes with guns standing there.
Yeah, I guess their burliness is supposed to be a deterrent, but they didn't think that through.
Yeah. So once massive oversight on everybody's part, because Jack just goes red eye mode and turns the security officers into his own personal bodyguards. And then Beverly runs out, begs Jack not to leave, and he explains his flawless plan. He's going to go trade himself to the Borg, and when the Queen lets him get close, question mark, profit!
He's going to show her who he really is, whatever that means.
I can't think of anything wrong with this plan.
Yeah.
He steals a shuttle and uses his Borg powers to find the right coordinates to fly to. So he's like, help me, Borg Queen. I pray to you to give me the coordinates. And she's like, here they are. Then we get a scene where Picard and Beverly stare out into space, and Picard is like, we gave him the best of you and the worst of me. And Beverly is like, I gave Wesley space and lost him to it. And I crowded Jack too close and lost him to that too, or something like that. I don't know.
Yep. No parenting works. That's the lesson here. I saw a great line somewhere where someone's like, put that quote in. It's like, we gave him the best of you and the worst of me or whatever. And then somebody's like, no, you gave him the best of both worlds.
That would have been a cool response. Like Data or somebody should have run in and said that.
with Data's ability to make jokes in this episode, It would have totally been appropriate.
It's like he just kind of like slowly comes up between them. He's like, you might say, yeah. But yeah, so she heads off to figure out how to save Jack, and then Data comes in and tries to comfort Picard. He's like, shall I say something comforting? It's like, maybe just try to say something comforting? I don't know. Geordi calls Picard down to sickbay to explain some new findings about Jack. So it seems that the Borg had put new DNA into Picard that they weren't able to detect 35 years ago, which, as we said, explains how he could still hear the collective.
They should have been able to tell that his DNA was different. I mean, we can do that now.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's like, nah, 35 years ago, we didn't have the ability to tell the difference between your normal DNA and the new DNA of you.
Yeah, I don't know. You might call it a plot hole. Or maybe it's like super hidden DNA. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, the classic hidden DNA. Yeah, okay.
But yeah, so Jack inherited the DNA, which somehow turned him into a Borg transmitter as well as a receiver. And we can believe this because they showed a little thing that was like transmitter protein, and it was like do.
Yep, the computer knew that it was a transmitter protein.
So, okay. But the mystery remains. How was Jack able to control people who have never been assimilated? Then Worf reminds them that today is Frontier Day, and every Starfleet vessel is assembled like so many fish in a barrel. Picard calls Shaw and says, we better go down to Frontier Day, and Shaw is like, that sounds like a terrible idea, but whatever, fuck it, let's go.
He's like, we have no other choice. And I'm like, did you guys consider any other possible choices? I'm just saying.
It's like, maybe let's do 5 minutes of brainstorming.
Yeah.
Then we get a cool transition where it's like, we look at the hologram of Frontier Day, and it like zooms into just like regular Frontier Day. And the Enterprise F is under the command of Admiral Shelby.
It's not a returning guest that I expected,
yeah.
but
from the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it makes sense. Although I've seen lots of comments like, wait, Shelby, like the super paranoid about the Borg person, is totally on board with networking all the ships together, but whatever.
I mean, they called that out in the episode also.
Oh, did they? I don't remember. But
like Riker was like, I can't believe that Elizabeth Shelby, of all people, would be championing this link the fleet together like plan.
Yeah. I have to say, though, first new ship that I haven't hated is the Enterprise F. Like, I'm okay with this design.
I have no strong feelings about it. I don't know. I might need to look at it a little bit more.
I had to go and look it up. Apparently, it originally premiered in like the Star Trek Online game, and so they've it's the same design as from that game, and it's actually somebody won a contest to design the next Enterprise, and so it's got the thing where there's a big hole between the saucer section and the star drive section that's connected on the two sides.
Yeah, I thought that was a little weird.
We've seen that in other Starfleet ships. It's not my favorite design thing, but I'm okay with it here. The thing that's interesting to me is like when it shows it from above, I feel like it looks like a kind of like a Sovereign class ship, although I saw a comparison and it's apparently quite a bit bigger than the Sovereign class.
Oh, interesting.
But when you see it from below, it reminds me of like the Intrepid class, like Voyager. So, but yeah, I was okay with this design, and maybe it's because it wasn't designed by the guys doing all the ships for this show. It came from somewhere else.
Yeah, it came from the video game. I will say it has kind of a weird look. I think it looks a little bit like swoopy, like the ship just started going to warp and then we freeze framed or something. But it's just kind of like, wait, let's like scrunch that down like 10% to see what it really looks like.
It's an Odyssey class ship, apparently.
Ooh, but not related to the USS Odyssey that got destroyed in whatever that episode was, the Jem'Hadar.
Maybe it was the class is commemoratively named after.
True.
Who knows?
Like a Keo class ship. So yeah, Admiral Shelby makes a speech explaining that it's 250 years since the first Enterprise was built. So I guess this episode takes place 250 years after the first episode of Enterprise.
Yep, sounds like.
Is that what we're supposed to get? And that became a holiday? Well, why not?
Yeah, I mean, sure. You gotta have holidays for something, I guess.
So I don't remember Enterprise. Was the Enterprise the first ship in Starfleet?
Okay, well, it wasn't technically Starfleet at the time because it was a United Earth ship or something like that, because it was before the Federation was founded.
It was before the Federation, but I thought they still called it Starfleet.
Did they still call it Starfleet? Hold on. Let's see. It was the United Earth Starfleet at the time, so okay. It was a little bit of both. But so it was. I remember it was the first Warp 5 capable vessel, if I'm remembering that correctly. So. Yeah, okay. Humanity's first Warp 5 engine was created, and that was used in the... So I guess this is the first... We're really getting out there in space ship.
Sure. So, yeah, I don't know if... I just don't understand why this exact thing is a holiday. Such a big holiday. If they kind of use it to technically mark the beginning of Starfleet, I guess that would make sense. But
yeah, I guess that would...
If there's already this United Earth Starfleet, and we weren't to, Federation Starfleet yet, then
let's see if there's additional information about Frontier Day. Probably not, but
yeah, it's
probably just all the stuff that we already know. Commemorated the anniversary of the NX-01's maiden voyage in April 2151. Picard's supposed to be there. Statue of Rachel Garrett was dedicated.
Not anymore.
Guinan capitalized on the occasion by selling models of various enterprises. Yeah, no, there's not a whole lot in here about that, so, okay.
Well, whatever.
I mean, you'd think that... I'm trying to think of, other holidays they could have. Maybe, the day that they got saved from the giant probe by bringing whales back from the past. Oh, yeah. That'd be a good holiday.
Whale Day. Today is the 100th anniversary of Whale Save Day. It's the whales come out and, sing a whale song or something.
Or First Contact Day. They could have just been First Contact Day. That's a great holiday.
Yeah. And I think we've mentioned this before, but Frontier Day is kind of a dumb name.
It's the day they went into the final frontier.
I guess. So yeah, anyway, it's 250 years since the first Enterprise was built. Now, Starfleet gathers all in one place to show off their new fleet synchronization technology. The best idea ever.
It's funny, actually, because apparently, when I started reading and stuff, this is the third, if you count this as part of the season finale, this is the third finale in modern Star Trek where this sort of thing has been a problem. There was the most recent season finale of Lower Decks. It was there's these automated ships, and of course they turn evil and start attacking people. The Texas class ships, actually.
Oh no!
But yeah. And then apparently in Star Trek Prodigy, there's a season finale where because all the ships are connected by the subspace network, it's able to get infected with this virus or something that causes all of the Starfleet ships to start shooting at each other.
Ugh.
And so I'm just have we learned no lessons at all?
I'm still not clear what the supposed benefits of this are supposed to be. She's if all our people die, the ships can go out exploring by themselves or something like that. I was is that real? Okay. Hey, remember that time on Futurama when they plugged Bender into all the ships in the battle fleet or whatever?
Yeah, that worked well.
Yeah. Was that in one of the movies, or I don't remember?
I can't put my finger on it.
Anyway, that's just tangential. Made me think of that.
I'm looking up fleet formation mode to see if there's an explanation of why this is good. Place all Federation ships within a fleet under the automated control of the Starfleet mainframe. The product of decades of development. To allow a number of ships to operate as a coordinated whole, but could not be overridden even by the crews of the affected vessels. That's a great idea, yeah. That's
perfect. Yeah, okay. Anyway, yeah, so Jack arrives at a Borg cube in some kind of swirling storm cloud somewhere, or a transwarp conduit that takes him to the cube, or the cube shows up through a transwarp conduit or something.
Yeah, it's a little unclear.
It doesn't matter. Jack beams aboard the cube and wanders around while the Borg Queen does some, like, villain monologuing, like, where's her voice coming from type stuff. Classic villain type stuff.
Yep.
She gives him the new Borg name, Vox. Not the one who speaks, but the voice itself. Finally, Jack finds the Queen, and surprise, finds himself unable to kill her. It's like that time RoboCop tried to arrest that guy. He was like, no, we programmed you so that you wouldn't do that.
Who would have thought? I do like the other name suggestions that she has, like, maybe I should call you, like, Child of God. No, that's not at all, like, full of yourself. But I mean, it's the Borg Queen, so what are you going to do?
Yeah, for real. And we only see the Borg Queen from the back of her head.
Yep,
cool.
But it is the return of the first contact Borg Queen, played by Alice Kriege.
Oh, okay.
However you say her name.
I forgot to look that up in the credits. Or I meant to, but I forgot to. I was like, I hope they didn't I could tell it was the same voice, but I was like, did they AI her voice to sound the same? As you see so many YouTube videos now.
There's a lot of questions though about what's she gonna look like. Are they gonna have the actress actually playing her again, or is she looking all freaky now, and so they're not gonna? It's just gonna be her voice. But
I think the way they did it was fine, where we just see a scary looking back of a head.
Oh, but they have the showrunner or whoever did confirm online that Borg Queen is the big floaty face that we saw her the lady talking to.
Okay, that was one of my notes I was gonna get to eventually. So that's good to have that cleared up. Was the Borg Queen the floating head? Yes.
Yeah, and so it does make more sense to me, at least, when she was talking down about your species thinks you're so great or whatever. And we had the discussion at the time, is that because this is a different brand of changeling, or is it because the head is not a changeling? Right. And so we got there.
Yep, you cleared that up. You're right. So Jack stands there helpless as sneaky, spiky Borg tentacles stab themselves into him and his eyes turn black. Back on the Titan, Data, Geordi, and Beverly make a discovery. They find some Starfleet transporter code containing Picard's Borg DNA in the stuff they stole from Vadic's ship, and discover that the code is contained in the Titan's transporter system architecture, which Data explains, I guess the transporter doesn't want to actually go through the trouble of scanning your DNA and recreating you, so it just assumes part of your DNA and plugs that in.
Well, yeah, since 99% or whatever of everyone's DNA is exactly the same, it's it doesn't need to redo that every time.
Which this is a scary concept to me, but it kind of makes you wonder, how much are you the same person when you get... I mean, this is the age-old question with transporters.
Yep.
I feel like this confirmed some really uncomfortable stuff.
All the people in Starfleet are now related to Picard.
Well, at least he'll always have organ donors or whatever. So they deduce they've been assimilating all of Starfleet through the transporters with nobody knowing. So, okay. At this point, I need to backtrack to make sure we understand this conspiracy correctly. So, Vadic was a changeling.
Yep.
Who, along with some friends, was experimented on Daystrom Station. She escaped, and at some point she went and she met the Borg.
I guess so.
And was like, hey, do you want to help me take down the Federation? And they were like, yes. So, we know that Soong discovered this about Picard's DNA. They seem to have implied pretty strongly.
Or at the very least, he discovered that Picard had the thing in his head that was old, not Ironic syndrome or whatever.
So, having been on Daystrom Station, Vadic could have had that information, or I guess, yeah, I don't know. We don't quite know the timeline of when Soong would have figured this out or whatever, but
and we don't really know the timeline of when did Vadic start this plan.
Right, true.
When did she escape? When did any of this happen?
Yeah. I kind of assumed she escaped sometime around the time of the Dominion War, but they would have still had Picard's. Well, I guess they wouldn't have even had Picard's body because they didn't get Picard's body until Picard got transferred into the cybernetic.
End of season 1.
So maybe just the Borg knew this whole thing. They're like, we put some special DNA in Picard, and if you were to have a son, that could magically turn into super transmitter DNA.
Or, I mean, it may be that they're like, hey, let's go get Picard. We need that DNA. And then they found out, because everyone in the galaxy apparently knows, that Picard is no longer human. He has a robot body. So they were like, well, shit. Okay, what other options do we have? And then somehow they learned what no one else except Beverly knew, that Picard had a son.
Sure. Although nobody else really cared enough to, go digging for it. So
that's true.
Anyway, somehow they figured out this thing about Jack and his abilities, because their entire plan hinges on it. And then Werq had some of her changeling friends infiltrate Starfleet, not as officers, but as transporter technicians, so they could jimmy with all the transporters in the entire Starfleet.
Yep.
And gradually assimilate everybody with Picard's DNA. So Werq's role in this plan is apparently over, and it's now the Borg's turn. And then I guess the Borg were like, I'll just keep trying to summon Jack psychically until he comes and sees me or something.
Yeah, I mean, if they'd never opened the door, then I guess the plan wouldn't work. Or
Werq was supposed to take Jack back to the collective,
right.
So I guess she failed that part, but Borg Queen had the backup plan of just beckoning to him, like the Eye of Sauron or something.
I'm not clear if Jack's actually necessary for the plan, because if they created this thing in Picard to use as a transmitter or receiver, presumably the Borg can do it to somebody else. I don't see why you would need Jack necessarily, but I mean, she seemed pretty emphatic that they wanted Jack, yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they need him, but maybe they would have to assimilate a whole other person and then give them the new DNA and then wait for them to go have another child, and then Jack's the option we have right now, and there's just no other way to do this apparently. And then someone points out that the frontal cortex stops developing at a certain age, like 25 or so only people under that age will be affected. The Titan arrives at Frontier Day, and immediately they find themselves being overtaken by the synchronization system.
Which we knew was going to happen. I don't know what you expected,
but even someone says, it's as I expected. And Picard hails the fleet and tries to explain the situation, but it's too late. The Borg begin transmitting their Jack signal, and all the 25 and unders on the Titan begin Borgifying.
And all the other ships.
Well, first, Geordi asks the computer to find Alondra LaForge, not Crash for some reason, and the computer notifies him that Alondra is no longer human, which is not what he asked, but whatever.
Well, because didn't they hear something where it was like, no, LaForge, what are you doing? And then he's like, oh crap, we've already lost her. I need to see if the other one is okay.
I thought that part was after this part, but whatever, it's not that important. Then they get a distress call from the Enterprise F, which cuts off just as Admiral Shelby gets phasered by a couple of her own crew.
Yep.
So that's the point when they realize the whole fleet is being assimilated all at once. And then the main characters flee to safety as the young crew members quickly seize control of the ship. Shaw wonders why none of them have been assimilated, because he wasn't in that previous discussion.
Nope.
And Seven is like, well, I can't help but notice that we're all old. Or she's like, you're all old. Which, come on, Seven, you gotta make some admission about yourself here, too. Then they get a call on Channel 99 Delta from the captain of the Excelsior. Which, hey, Excelsior.
Also, this captain played by Nolan North, popular voice actor, who, as soon as he starts talking, I was like, wait, is Nathan Drake in charge of the Excelsior ship? And so nice. I immediately had to go look it up, and it was like, yep, that's Nolan North, all right.
It's like, hey, if all you need is a voice to immediately get destroyed off screen, why not?
Yep.
But Captain Nathan Drake of the Excelsior was able to regain control of the ship. But unfortunately, 1 second later, the ship is targeted and blown up by the rest of the fleet.
Yeah, so the lesson is, if you regain control of your ship, don't tell anyone.
Right. Fly the ship away quietly and, come up with a plan.
Although in these scenes, there's lots of interesting ship names that get spotted. I found somebody who posted a list of things. There's the USS Cochrane, The USS Hikaru Sulu.
Nice.
The USS, what's her name? Pulaski.
Okay.
What else we got? The Venture, the Sutherland, the Gilgamesh, the Excelsior, of course. The Thunderchild, which showed up in First Contact. I guess it's still out there working.
Nice.
What else? Any other ones? The Intrepid, but not Intrepid class. It's a Duderstadt class.
Oh, yeah. Wait, isn't there... We talked about this Duderstadt class at some point.
The Sutherland and the Gilgamesh are Sovereign class ships that were in the fleet.
Ooh, nice.
And there was one called the John Kelly and one called the DeForest, and somebody oh man. And then there's the Okuda and the Drexler, so there's lots of references to
Sure.
that sort of thing.
Nice. I guess the one good thing that comes out of the Excelsior captain calling up on Channel 99 Delta is that Shaw realizes, like, hey, that's a maintenance channel that's like on a different frequency or something, which doesn't actually come in handy because he's just like, wait, if we go down to maintenance, there's like a shuttlecraft down there. So, yep, they all head down to maintenance. They run down to where the shuttle is. Luckily, shuttles aren't connected to the rest of the fleet, says Data. And Seven is like, the robot's right.
Yeah, good thing Data knows that. And also, the robot's right is a hilarious line and also terribly insulting. And so I don't know how to feel about it. Oh, I forgot to mention, when the Excelsior gets destroyed, we found out in the previous season that Picard's good friend, like the Romulan kid, Elnor, who was big in season 1, was assigned to the Excelsior in season 2. So he might have just died.
Nice. Take that, people who liked previous characters. So, unfortunately, as they battle their way to the shuttle, Shaw is hit with phaser fire. Then he delivers tear-jerking dying words. You have the con, 7 of 9.
Okay, I'm sorry. This scene bothered me so much because they're like, no, you guys get in the shuttle. We'll cover you. And then they like shoot down the last of the guys after he shoots Shaw, and then they just stay there. Yeah. I'm like, you could take injured Shaw on the shuttle too. Maybe somebody could, like, Dr. Crusher's on there. She might be able to save him.
Yeah.
But no.
At first I thought they were all they were all going to go into the shuttle. But then I guess 7 of 9 and Rafi just stayed behind to do something.
To die. Yeah, I don't, like, we can't have them interfering with the big reunion scene. They weren't in that show. But at the same time, I'm like, why? This is just, I feel like it's just poor writing that like they needed to contrive a way not to have these guys on there when there's no logical way that they would have been left behind in this situation. Yeah,
they really should have been brought along. But because in a later scene, I was like, wait, where's 7 and Rafi? But anyway, the whole Next Gen crew escape on the shuttle as the Borg-controlled fleet begins targeting Space Dock and Earth's planetary defenses.
But does not bother with the shuttle, kind of like the escape pod in A New Hope. It's like, it's probably fine.
Yeah. Or maybe they're just too laser focused on their tasks. They didn't notice it.
Also, all the ships assemble in a really weird formation that looks, I don't know if it's spelling something out in Borgish or what, but it was strange.
Yeah, it almost looks like letters or something, or it looks like a necklace of something. I don't know. Geordi flies the shuttle to the Fleet Museum and takes them to the much-hyped Bay 12, where floodlights slowly click on, revealing the Enterprise D, as predicted by many, many people.
Yep.
Reassembled and restored by Geordi. Geordi points out that they cannot use the Enterprise E, and all turn to look at Worf, who mysteriously says, "That was not my fault."
I need to know what happened now.
I just want it to be the stupidest thing possible. Like the Enterprise E got stuck in a space swamp or something like that.
Apparently, there is there are some theories online, because I mentioned that that season finale of Prodigy, and there's several Sovereign class ships that are among the ships like shooting at each other. And apparently the model that they use the same model for all the ships in the scene, and that model has like one ship's registry number on the saucer section. I don't remember what, but on the back of the nacelles, it has the Enterprise E's registry number. So people spotted like that number on one of the ships because it's on all the ships, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, was the Enterprise E in this fight? Did it get destroyed?"
Clue or goof? You decide. So the original crew walk into the restored bridge and begin sensually running their hands all over everything. Like, oh, the control panels. Oh, the chairs.
A bridge restored to like latter half of the Next Generation series bridge, not the bridge that it had when it crashed, which was like a revamped one for the Generations movie that had like extra consoles and stuff.
Nice. Geordi remembers the way he liked it.
Yeah.
So, this is Geordi's project. He can do whatever he wants.
Which, it's funny because the bridge is one of the pieces that survived. So in addition to just restoring, he's like, nah, I'm going to rip all this stuff out while I'm at it.
I'm sure there was lots of broken stuff. He had to, like, you know, replace a bunch of stuff anyway. So also the two, like, the two front console things, have they always, like, been glowy? I never noticed that before.
I don't know, actually.
And then Picard remarks he didn't realize how much he missed the carpet.
That is a great line.
I think they talked about this on I was watching the Red Letter Media reviews of Picard.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, you know, the Enterprise D just looked like such a pleasant place to live and work. You know, it had carpet, nice lighting, like, you know, all this stuff. Now the new ships are all like this black glass or something. You know, it's really kind of sterile and cold looking.
Yeah, no, I get that. Oh my gosh! Hold on, we missed my favorite Data moment where he's like being all a downer, and Geordi's like, "Dude, can you try being a little positive?" And he's like, "I hope that we die quickly." And the look on his face is just so amazing.
I hope we die quickly. Brent Spiner having a little fun with that.
He really is.
I think
it was great.
But yep, we finish up. Picard takes computer control and accepts a field demotion to captain from that the Enterprise gave him.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's because they're using Michelle Barrett's voice back for the ship, which a lot of people online are like, "Oh my gosh, it's so great hearing her as the computer again."
Yep.
But they must have taken like previous.
Yeah.
In fact, somebody called
old
out
clips
that I saw that was like, I'm pretty sure that's from the episode where you get what's the Chain of Command episode where Jellicoe takes over for a while.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but yeah, Majel Barrett obviously no longer around to be the computer voice.
Apparently, before she died, I was like, this came up in a discussion I saw online. They recorded like her vocal harmonics so they could try to like Alexa her more or less.
Nice.
And so they could use her in Star Trek, or maybe they could sell her voice as an Alexa thing. I don't know. But they thought they had all that they needed before she died, and then after she died, they were like, "Oh, we don't have enough to build the full thing." But in a recent, like sometime within the last year, I think, update from her son, he was like, they think now that they've got the technology to a point where they figured out how to kind of bridge the gap of what's missing. So this may still be something that we get.
Nice. So yeah, the crew, they have a nice little rousing all for one and one for all moment. And then Picard's like, take your stations. And everybody goes to their original stations from Star Trek The Next Generation. And then the ship soars majestically out of the museum bay. Picard has Data lay in a course for Earth. And then he calls, engage. The end, or to be continued.
Yeah, some people pointed out that the engage line seems to be like his voice seems stronger.
I was thinking that because he said it earlier in the season.
Yeah,
and it just felt because he sounded so old. He was like, engage, and then this time he said it. He was like, engage.
They're like, I bet it took a lot of takes to get that one just right. And somebody else commented, it's like, dude, if you look at his face, you can tell that he's annoyed from like how many takes this has taken. So I don't know if that was somebody reading into it, but
this is
I
like
that.
Terry Metalis made him say it like 84 times, and this is like take 84. He's like, no, you got to say it like you said it on the show. Like, say it like you're still in your 40s. So I know, I mean, you know, there's a lot of people who are always like, the show's not really good. It's just a bunch of nostalgia or whatever. But like I said on Twitter, you can just take that nostalgia and hook it into my veins.
Yep.
Because I was like, yeah, like when they all take their seats, I'm just like, yeah. I'm like pumping my fists in the air. And Picard says engage. I was like, he said it like he said it on the show. And they warp away.
Yes. Okay. That whole last section of the episode, I love it. It's, you get like the starship porn with the Enterprise D, which, like I said at the beginning, has always been my favorite. I love the look of it.
Yep.
The whole end section, loved in this episode. It was great.
Yeah. So I don't care how like it kind of doesn't make sense or like how shameless or like pandering it is. Yep. I'm all about it. Give it to me.
The rest of the episode, though, I have issues with.
Okay.
So,
okay.
You know, there's the whole thing feels just so sudden and so like fast to me that I feel like we're dropping the ball a little on the pacing of the season as a whole, where they're like, oh, we got 2 episodes left. We need to, and we've like held the reveal on this off so long that we now need to just fast forward through. Yes, Jack's Borg. Okay, Jack's going to meet the Borg. Now the fleet's going to fall. Now, like, it just feels like it's on fast forward to me, basically. And I'm a little bit annoyed by that.
Yeah, I mean, it might feel a little sudden. Like, it didn't really bother me, but I can, like, totally understand, because, like, especially the last couple of episodes have been a little bit more of a slower, even though we've had the super exciting, like, you know, taking back the Titan and all this stuff, which they immediately lost again, like, in the next episode, but... Yeah. Man, that poor Titan.
I mean, somebody put put a list on Reddit, and I have to see if I can find it again, of like within a week or something, all the times the Titan has been taken, and it's yeah. Everyone is very upset, by the way, online about Shaw being apparently dead.
Absolutely.
There's also a lot of people like they're like Shaw could easily like live. True. You know, that they could have used a dramatic moment, but he could easily come back. People have come back from way worse than this, and
so. You know. If we just get a post-credit scene at the end of next episode, and it shows like Shaw in one of those like Star Wars tanks getting healed or something,
back to the tank,
and then suddenly his eyes open or something, that's all I need. It is not acceptable for Shaw to be dead, in my opinion.
Oh, here it is. You're the captain of the USS Titan. For 100 Quatlus, guess which of the following will commandeer your ship in the span of 1 week? A. Changeling imposter posing as transporter chief with a bad comb-over. B. Your first officer who you kind of hate, acting in the best interest of retired Starfleet admiral, acting in no official capacity whatsoever. Also, he tried to kill you some time ago. C. An agent handler from an inept intelligence service that has been continually compromised by infiltrators for the last 5 to 10 years. D. Multiple changeling imposters posing as security officers who can't win a fight against a London prep school graduate even with a 4-to-1 advantage in phasers. E. An android suffering from multiple personality disorder whose most recent job was being a USB drive. F. A cigarillo smoking hybrid changeling and its cabal of misshapen space pirates who forgot to raise shields when they raided an enemy ship. G. Starfleet's new cloud-based OS, which nobody on the ship has the admin password for, and whose tech support line doesn't answer your hails. H. Gen Z lower deckers who were too lazy to take the stairs or a shuttlecraft and caught a Borg STD from the transporter. Or I, all of the above.
Yep. Can't debate any of that.
Shaw has not had the best week, basically, and then it ends with him getting shot. So...
Yep. He has to watch all this horrible stuff happen. He gets shot, then he recovers, then he gets shot again. Or what happened to him that one time? Did he get shot or did something fall on him or something? Anyway.
He shot the changeling and then he walked past the changeling and it got back up and like stabbed him or beat him or I don't remember exactly. Or no, was that later? Maybe that's how he got captured. How did he get hurt the first time? All I remember is when he came back from being hurt, like 7 of 9 had to drag him out of his quarters to go and help her in the nacelle room because no one understood how the nacelle override or whatever worked.
Right.
What did happen? Oh, he was on the bridge when like they got attacked and like I think stuff fell on him.
Like one of those classic Starfleet consoles exploded in his face or something.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. That sounds right.
Did you have other complaints?
I mean, aside from the one I already said about like it was just so contrived to leave Seven and Rafi behind in a way that made absolutely no sense. I guess Shelby coming back, I was just like, that's a choice. She was never anybody's favorite character, and then they shoot her, so it's like, okay, so we're just bringing back old characters so you can shoot them.
Yeah.
I got it. All right.
I thought that was kind of almost hilariously brutal. The way just like some guys walk up to her with guns and shoot her, and then it goes like in transmission.
Also, somebody pointed out online, it's like, so does nobody else work at the Fleet Museum except for Geordi and his daughter? Like,
this is a good question. This is a very good question. I mean, maybe they do, but they just don't care what's going on.
Yeah, they're like, whatever. The boss is gone, so we're all taking a break.
They all have their own jobs to do.
And then the one thing that I thought during the episode that really got to me was like, oh no, the Borg are taking over everything. We're in desperate need of help. Maybe you should try contacting like the good Borg Queen, who's a friend of yours.
Yeah, we kind of seem to like just completely ignored that these other Borgs exist now.
Yeah.
Seems like they would be helpful in this fight.
One would think.
Or maybe, like, see what the Klingons are up to?
Yeah, just anybody else, really.
It's like, we got a situation over here.
Because aside from whether or not these other species love the Federation, the humans, nobody likes the Borg.
Right.
And so if you're like, oh, by the way, the entirety of Starfleet has been taken over by the Borg, and after they're done with the Federation, they're going to come for you, because why would they're the Borg? Right. That's what they do.
Although, for all we know, this exact same thing is happening everywhere else. Like,
no, I guess it's possible.
Like around Kronos, they're celebrating like Kahless Day or something. And they've like linked all their like birds of prey and battle cruisers together, and then suddenly like they all start turning Borg, and they're like, oh, I can't believe this happened. So, I don't know.
So is everybody over 25 just dead now? Like, they all get executed? Or is the future of Starfleet now in the hands of all of the under 25s, assuming that we can get them, unborgified?
I think that's the implication here. Is that Gen Z now rules Starfleet.
That's going to be a thing. Okay.
Like, is Admiral Janeway okay?
Yeah, that's a good question. She still hasn't shown up, which I don't know. Maybe she's off saving Tuvok, who apparently got captured.
That would be great if like Janeway is on a solo commando mission to rescue Tuvok. Like, apparently senior citizen Janeway.
Tim Russ stated before this season or something, or maybe after his first appearance, that he was in 2 episodes this season.
Ooh. Nice. So let me pitch you a scene.
Okay.
They're all in the bridge of the Enterprise, and then Data's like, even if we somehow manage to retake the fleet, we must do something about the transporter systems. And Geordi's like, oh, don't worry, I have just the man. And they all turn towards the turbo lift, which slowly, like the needle on the turbo lift starts like, or whatever. And then like the turbo lift opens, but it's all like, dark and there's fog everywhere for some reason. But you can see a silhouette with curly hair. And it's like, da 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 da. And then Chief O'Brien steps out.
I'm still honestly, there was a part of me that when they got there and they're leaving the museum, I was just like, Can we find out that like Chief O'Brien has retired and Geordi hired him on as like a grease monkey in his spare time, working at the place because they're old buddies or whatever. Like I was just hoping that he's gonna be like the janitor at the museum or something.
No, like Geordi's got O'Brien like helping out with the Enterprise D restoration.
I'm hoping somebody's down in engineering. I mean, how are these people going to fly the ship by themselves?
Yeah.
Geordi said that he had drones loading the photon torpedo, so I'm like, are drones going to do a lot of the flying? Because I'm pretty sure that's how we got into this problem.
Or like there are a million of those like robot guys like crewing the ship.
Yeah. So the Enterprise D has become Galactica at this point.
I was wondering, is there some symbolism to all the under 25s getting brainwashed and like Like, is Terry Matalas trying to tell us something?
Maybe. I have to go watch 12 Monkeys and see if he, had it in for the younger generation there.
It's like all the old people who know what they're doing have to, like, step in and, like, save the day. But we know that all the under 25s will be okay, because Geordie's daughters are among
that would
them.
be hardcore if Geordie lost both his kids in some way.
Although I'm kind of hoping the whole series just ends with, like, them losing, and then, like, the Borg taking over the entire Federation. And then it's like the end of Star Trek.
That would be a bold move, I have to say. Especially since they're already doing shows that take place like in the future of this.
They got to take it back from the Borg.
Take it back.
I have a feeling even if like Terry Matalas pitched that, the suits wouldn't let him do it. Okay, and my last note is that it seems like the thing to do is not to go back with your one ship and try to attack the fleet, but go to try to find Jack.
Yeah.
And unplug him out of the
Anything
Borg.
that's not taking your one ship against a million ships is a better plan than that.
Yeah, because I have a feeling they're going to show up to the thing, like, and they're immediately going to be like, okay, wait, this is a bad idea. We got to go, like, find Jack or something.
Also, do they have to blow up Space Dock? Like, are there not a bunch of under 25s on there that could take that over? I don't understand.
It's just better to blow it up. You just take down all of Earth's defenses. We won't need to defend Earth once we control it.
Oh, somebody like points out Jack's line. What about the protocols of a father? Or were you never issued those? And I was like, oh yeah, that's a hard hitting line right there.
Although, like, fatherhood is rather.
It's true. That's not quite fair.
Yeah. And whose fault is that, Jack? Whose fault is that?
Yeah. Okay. Also fair. I really want to know. I want to know what happened to the Enterprise E. Worf has that line about how he liked the weapons on the Enterprise E better, and people on Reddit are calling it Troy's reaction the "shut up, nerd" moment. And I was like, okay, yeah,
nice. I mean, if you like those weapons so much, Worf, you shouldn't have got it like jammed in that space swamp.
Got it lost in a temporal vortex or whatever. Jeez.
Yeah. Anyway, so yep, I'm good to go for the finale.
Yeah, I'm really, like I said, I feel like I'm sensing the beginning of some ball dropping with this episode. So I'm hoping that the finale will prove me wrong and that it'll wrap up nicely and maybe even, open the possibility of the new
legacy,
whatever legacy thing with Crash LaForge and 7 of 9 or whatever. So I'm hoping, but I don't know.
Yeah. You know what? Even if they it mess it up really bad, as long as we get some like original crew flying around in that like beautifully restored like Enterprise D bridge, I'll be like, you know what? All right, I'll accept it.
The next episode is called The Last Generation.
Ooh.
Which, I mean, it might mean the last as in the previous generation, or it might mean the final generation.
Yep.
Which nicely bookends the premiere called The Next Generation.
Yep. Little motif or something they got going on.
Which, I mean, if all the over 25s are dead, then Star Trek is really going to be about the next generation at this point.
Yeah, that's true. Or maybe they have to kill all the under 25s.
Then there's nobody left. Like, we're going to need a new recruitment drive. Oh, and apparently the whole Metalis Prime thing was like a recruitment drive was held there, and that's when the statue was dedicated in like advance of Frontier Day. It was like, hey, come and get recruited into Starfleet right before Frontier Day. And I guess I wonder if the people at the Academy are all now Borgified.
Oh yeah,
that would suck.
Come be like Rachel Garrett and die. All right, so looking forward to it. Ready to wrap it up?
Yeah.
Okay. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. Remember to check out that Deep Space Nine podcast we do. It's called Undeclared Bajor. Available places. Also check out the description where I occasionally put things to interesting things. I was Fletcher, about to say goodbye as Data.
See ya.
Until next time, do not seek anger, do not seek blame, but seek awesome Enterprise D comebacks.